So we're going to look at some things that GDP does not value, and we know that these things actually have value in the society. So we're going to say because GDP does not capture the value listed here, that it's not a perfect measurement of standard of living or well-being, and that there's more to life than just income. And that's true for individual income, but it's also true for the income of a country. So let's look at some things that GDP misses that really, contribute to overall standard of living. The quality of the environment. So quality of the environment is not going to show up in the GDP number. A lot of times you can increase your GDP number by increasing production at the expense of the quality of your environment. Think something like China, where you have a rapidly growing economy, really large increases in GDP year to year, but at the same time the air quality is getting worse, the water quality is getting worse, and we know that there's a value to clean air and clean water. So that's something that the GDP number is going to miss, the value of the quality of the environment. Leisure time. There's more to life than just working. In fact, if we all maybe took an extra day off, the GDP number would decrease, but maybe you would feel that your standard of living is actually higher or better because you have more time to spend with your friends and family, something like that. So think about it. There's value to leisure time. Most people eventually look forward to retiring, and the GDP number doesn't really put a value on leisure time. And like we said, if you take more leisure time, the GDP number is likely to decrease. Non-market activity, like raising your own kids. So if you become a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, you leave your job, the GDP number drops. It's going to look like you're not adding or contributing to the economy anymore. But think about what you're doing. You're instilling values in your children, work ethic in your children. You're helping them learn the habits that they're going to need later on to be productive, contributing members of society. So you are producing there, right? But it's not going to show up in the GDP number. So that's another problem. It's going to miss that home production. In poor countries, this is really important because a lot of the production that's done is home production. There are scenarios where someone might make their own clothes. They might grow their own food. They might live in their own house. None of that's going to show up in their GDP number, so it's going to make that GDP for that country look smaller than it really should be, or the overall production for the country look smaller than it really is, because a lot of the production is home production. It's not showing up in the number for the gross domestic product. The equitable distribution of income. In the United States, average income might be around $56,000, but that doesn't mean that every single person has an income of $56,000. So think about it. Some people have incomes in the millions or billions. Other people have barely enough to get by. A lot of times when foreigners come to the United States, they think everyone's wealthy. They get here, they realize that they were wrong and that there's a lot of poverty in the United States. So what we see here is the GDP number really doesn't tell you how evenly distributed that income is. So that can be an issue, right? It doesn't tell you how equitable the income is distributed. So because of these four facts, we would say that GDP is not a perfect measurement of standard of living, and it misses some important things that we would say contribute to an overall standard of living.